the block.
Yep.
And every Patriots person I know is talking about, like, they weren't able to get him last year,
yeah.
but now the circumstances are completely different.
T. Higgins. Yep.
No, not T. Ayuk.
Ayuk for
Ayuk because Ayuk to the Patriots.
Yeah, Ayuk to the Patriots because they wanted him last year. They
remember
they
that.
were willing to put up.
He was doing the hold in. He was doing the hold in. Yeah, I remember.
And they put up, from what we heard, right, a substantial offer.
Yeah.
But now it's completely different because he's hurt now. You might be able to get a similar-ish deal for that, especially since he just got paid.
Right.
And they're going to take on the majority, if not all that
That's
money.
interesting, though. You brought up T. Higgins, so with all the Joe Burrow talk about T. Higgins.
Yeah.
So is Joe? Do we still see Cincinnati if they do let T. Higgins go?
Well, they franchise him.
They franchise.
So they plan on keeping him, bringing him back.
Did they
they
franchise
still trade and get an extension with another team?
I mean, they could, but they want to keep him. They want to. You know, he's not going to play on the franchise tag, but they want to keep him. Like that's the thing.
But you don't really have a choice. If you're the player, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, no,
you gotta accrue that year.
I agree, but I think he's not going to win.
But if somebody comes with a deal,
he's going to do
you can't say no.
I think he's going to try to do an IU.
But
they
that
still
goes
have
to
to pay
the
Chase.
conversation
And Chase is going to want
Joe-
close to $40 million.
I just don't
Jamar
think they're
enough?
going to let him.
That goes
leave.
back to your conversation earlier about surrounding with talent.
They will
Is
100%.
Joe and
As soon
Jamar
as they
enough?
get rid of him,
They don't let Joe Mixon go
there'll be
from that
another
Super Bowl
wide
team.
receiver in there in a heartbeat. Like,
Right.
Because
Matthew Golden.
The problem is
At what? 12 or over there?
Like
17. Yeah.
The problem is who's really the catalyst for success? Is it the quarterback or is it the receivers? So like that's what these receivers for the Bengals are saying. Like, yo, we've held this dude down. He went out, and we had a dude who nobody thinks is a starting quarterback in the NFL, looking like Joe Burrow, right? So pay us.
And that was behind a terrible offensive line.
Behind the same terrible offensive line that everybody says you got to get a better offensive line for Joe Burrow. Another dude came in there who can't even sniff a starting job anywhere and put up Joe Burrow numbers. Not like kind of sort of Joe Burrow numbers. He put up Joe Burrow numbers.
What, 2 years ago?
You're talking about last year.
Who did this?
Not 23.
Technically,
2023.
But then Burrow came back this year and had Joe Burrow, like Joe Burrow.
No, he put up Joe Burrow numbers.
I had Burrow had some crazy numbers this past year. Like, what do you have, 4,500?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow numbers.
What did they got? Are you talking about the guy 2 years ago didn't have that?
Look at his time. Those.
No, he had a good stretch.
He had a run.
300 plus yards.
No, he had a good stretch. I just don't know if he did.
Of course, because he was a backup. I think the point.
No, he had a good
year.
year.
Is like there was a period of time where you were like, damn, he's out here doing some shit.
And he was out there doing it. He was out there cosplaying Joe Burrow.
But even with that, and I get that. But even with that, Burrow's already locked up, right? Like, so he's there. Now it's about which receiver do you pay, and when Burrow wants both, even though he wants both, and you still got Hendrickson, and you still got Hendrickson,
there's
who
no
wants a
question.
contract too.
He's gonna pay
And if you're asking that question, there's no question.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Jamar, right?
I just don't think it's possible.
No, I'm just saying with the Hendrickson and then this Hendrickson too. So it's like, what happens? And I agree with you. They can't pay them all. They can't pay Chase, who's going to want 38 to 40.
JJ numbers.
Trey Hendrickson, who's going to want top of the market pass rush.
Dominic Lovett's having a really
T. Higgins,
good
who
day.
wants 30 plus.
He wants wide receiver one numbers.
No, he wants 30 plus.
And he should. Now what? It's like, what do you sacrifice? Because you brought up the Trey Hendrickson thing. Trey Hendrickson's unhappy. I feel like there's almost like a greater chance they let him walk.
Because he's going to want top of the line pass rusher money too, which is 35 plus, which is.
And I'm saying, what good is your pass rushing if our defense is dead last in the
That's why they made quarterback change.
Double digit sacks out of here.
But what's the pressure?
Those double digit sacks.
Or do we just spread the pressure?
It doesn't matter what the pressure rate is if our defense is 30th in the.
Or do we just spread that money around and try to get younger and better players instead of this one player that is in his prime but our defense is still bad?
We need to do more, so I can't give you 35 million.
Yeah, I'd rather spread that around and try to get my defense to be better than I'm giving you. Because you already proved to be a Pro Bowl caliber player, and we were still terrible. I need to get more. That goes back to like when you was talking about the Eagles. Just get pass rushers and just Just get him in.
Just draft guys.
But
Just draft guys. You gotta get him in.
The idea that you have to get rid of a player because you're not ready, you should be able to turn around a team in 1 year. Look at what the Texans did. Look at what the Commanders did.
Yep.
You shouldn't have to say that you're going through a 2 or 3 year rebuild.
Especially if you got Joe Burrow.
Right.
Oh, hell yeah. No, you're right about that.
You should be able to, at any given time, take any roster and turn it into a playoff team the next year. If you can't do that, you are not the right GM.
If you have the quarterback,
That means
But the Commanders and the Texans were picking top 5, got a quarterback,
They got the
went to the
quarterback.
playoffs.
No, they got the quarterback.
You should be able to. You should be able to turn it around.
If not the best receiver, they also had one of the 2 best receivers.
Commanders, they had historic levels of cap, and they spent it very, very well. Got a great coach on top of getting back.
Because now you can go get
Like they got everything that they needed in one offseason. That doesn't happen very often. And with the Texans, they were able to get multiple picks and a huge amount of cap relief from a terrible situation with Watson. And then on top of that, turn that into a Pro Bowl franchise pass rusher and a franchise quarterback. That also is extenuating circumstances. That doesn't happen very often with 2 first-round picks. Like, granted, if you get 2 first-round picks, you have a lot more opportunities. But not every team is going to get those 2 first-round picks in one offseason based off of what they already have on the roster.
Unless you're going big game hunting, you got to make a move. Because it wasn't like somebody just gave it to them. Like, they decided, hey, we want to go up and get Will Anderson, right? Like, we're going to make this massive leap from, take our number, because they were bad enough to get the number 2 pick. But then that 3 pick, it wasn't like it was just already theirs. They made moves. They were aggressive. They were aggressive. You got to be.
And look at what they've done.
Still, they had the resources to be aggressive. Which is true. Because they had that extra first-round pick. That was also pretty high up, too.
From the CJ trade?
Right. So because of that, let's say if you inherit a team that does not have a good cap situation, doesn't have the extra picks, can we realistically say, you have to rebuild in 1 year?
But see, I think you can. Because if you look at McDermott's first year in Buffalo, he took a team that was in cap hell. I mean, they were eating money for Mario Williams. They were eating money for Marcel Darius. They were eating money for Sammy Watkins. None of those guys were on the roster. And McDermott took it to the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor as his quarterback.
Or Tyrod Taylor took it to the playoffs when they were actively trying to take. Because they were trading away assets in the middle of the season.
But they didn't need to tank. No, I don't think they were trying to tank.
They were trying to lose for a quarterback.
I disagree. I respectfully, being a Bills fan, I disagree.
No, I know.
And here's why. What Buffalo was doing, what Beam was doing when he was coming in, is he was clearing out the cap. He was not trying to tank. He was getting the players and the contracts he didn't want off of his cap, which was Darius, Watkins, Williams.
Yes, but that's at the expense of the team. That's at the expense of the good of the team.
I don't know, because
players.
That team didn't go to the playoffs the year before.
That team went to the playoffs that year.
The year they got rid of those players.
Yeah.
So it's not about what you think the player is, it's about the locker room. And I'm going to say that was not a tank, because what Bean did, he had 2 first-round picks that year. He had 2 second-round picks. He had 2 third-round picks. Regardless of what the Bills' record was, he had the draft capital to go up and get the quarterback he wanted.
Yeah,
it was a
playoff team.
It was a retool. It was
they had a playoff team.
It was on the fly.
That they made worse in the short term to try to make better in the long term. That is the definition of tanking. That's the definition of it.
I disagree.
Go down in the short term in order to be better in the long term.
Go down.
That's the definition of
tanking implies you go down, and Buffalo didn't.
They got lucky because they're tanking.
I don't think that was luck.
They benched the quarterback to put Nathan Peterman in to lose games.
Anybody do that?
Come on, man. You're trying to tank. It's okay.
Hold on.
It just didn't work. That's all.
Respectfully, you're off by it. Peterman wasn't the quarterback.
Peterman was the quarterback the year that Tyrod Taylor went to the the playoffs. That was Nathan Peterman that came in. You can look it up. I'm 100% accurate.
Peterman was a quarterback on the roster Josh Allen's rookie year.
Yes, but Peterman was on the roster when Tyrod Taylor took them to the playoffs. He came in and they benched Tyrod Taylor for 2 games, I believe. Nathan Peterman threw 5 interceptions in a game. I think he had 6.
Okay.
I think he had 6 passes, 5 interceptions. Something ridiculous that's never been done before. They were actively trying to tank. They put Tyrod Taylor back in, and he ran out the run and got them to the playoffs. You look.
I don't think they were putting Peterman in because they were trying to tank. They put Peterman in because the metrics with Tyrod Taylor were bad. Like the EPA per pass was bad, so they were making a change, but they couldn't stay with a quarterback that was throwing 5 interceptions in a game, so they had to go back to Taylor, even though all the analytics said he wasn't the guy. But they still went to the playoffs.
So,
right?
Yeah,
they
so
were not trying to tank.
They weren't actively. Tyrod wasn't playing that well. Let's see if
They were winning games.
I was gonna say he was winning. I don't know.
It was so terrible that we got to go back. But we just kind of lucked and backed into the
right.
playoffs.
I mean that offense that year was inept.
So they might
I had season tickets, and the number of games I left at the third quarter.
They were trying to tank, but it was like, this is way too obvious. He's way too bad. We got to at least be competitive.
They weren't trying to tank at all, though.
Just so I have my
But he was saying like they were
I just
actively
want to make sure I
trying
have
to
my
tank.
history right.
While
The
they
year
were just.
before, the year before the year they got rid of LaShawn McCoy? Was that the year before?
No, because McDermott had McCoy on the roster.
But we
I'm
just trying to
asking.
see
I'm trying to get my
Peterson
thing
has
right.
anything for us.
McCoy was on the team
Robert
that made
Woods,
the
Not
playoffs.
necessarily
The year
like we're putting him
before?
in to lose.
Was
We're
Robert
putting him in
Woods
and
the year
see if he has
before
anything
or that
for us.
year that they
See,
traded him
He ain't
away?
got nothing for us.
Was that the year during the year that they traded, or was that the year before?
Was Woods traded, or did he go as a free agent?
I can't remember. That's why I'm asking.
Okay.
But I know that they had Robert Woods at one point.
They had They had Woods and Watkins
LaShawn
on the
McCoy,
team.
Watkins, Calvin Benjamin. Even though it was a big Calvin Benjamin.
So we traded to get Benjamin during that season to make a push for the playoffs. Benjamin was a mid-season acquisition.
Okay. Now I gotta just pull the phone out.
You can feel free to check me on that.
I've been right so far. Every time we've had this exchange, I've been right. So
Woods was on that team, but he went as a free agent. Watkins was traded away. So as best I remember, Woods was still on the team, but we did not re-sign him when his rookie deal was up.
yeah, I don't remember if it was that year or if it was the year before that you didn't bring Woods back. But I just remember having there were less weapons on that team that went to the playoffs.
You are correct.
And the problem was Tyrod Taylor.
Okay, and no, I can see those guys being connected. Yep, fair enough. Tyrod had fewer weapons in his last year with Buffalo than he did when Rex Ryan was the coach. That is a fair statement. Yes.
So I just go like, you guys caught like a perfect storm. You were able to do what a lot of teams try to do, which is unload assets. You were able to do it.
But as a Bills fan, we didn't see it as a tank. We saw it as we were basically accumulating all of our dead cap into one year. And it was the most dead cap in NFL history until Russell Wilson.
That's right.
Right?
That's funny. That's good though.
Right. But I mean, that was...
There's Rod. How you doing? You're back.
Exactly apples to
I
was over there for a little bit.
Oh, you were... Okay. Well, tell people where they can find you and follow you on social media, Ron.
Ron, they were doing fine financially, but they had just
C-A-P,
was a quarterback.
H-I-L-L.
He does.
I'm on Instagram, but mostly
suck.
Twitter.
Like, he's not
or X or whatever you want.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
But
Lewis
he's
Wright
not a
for
guy
Pro
that you're
Football Hall of
necessarily
Fame
looking
would
at
be a
like, oh
great
yeah, that guy's going to win
start.
It would be it's time to get that one going. I'd love to see Louis Wright finally get in.
I'd love to, and if Broncos ownership
Caleb Williams as a result of that trade.
buys in and puts a lot of support behind it, I think there are some metrics that we can use to get some momentum.
I agree.
Your team is now set up for even greater success.
So we have some quarterbacks throwing. I'm going to try to watch them, and then I'll give you my thoughts in about 15, 20 minutes. I think they'll be wrapping up. So I will be back with you soon.
Who's that young lady? Lucas. Who's that young lady?
You don't have
Carolina,
You don't have
yeah.
to tell me.
Okay.